Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Greg. Welcome to the channel. Today I want to be talking about the Saturn and Ketu conjunction in the sign of Sagittarius. That's going on right now up in the sky. So we got that energy that's affecting us, that's affecting our own Saturn, our own Ketu within our own charts. So you can check out where those are in your charts, and you can see how they're affecting you and see what challenges you got going on. What house is it in? Is it in the second house, representing family, representing your speech, representing your gains? Is it in the sixth house, representing the house of enemies, the house of disease? Is it in the eighth house? Where are these planets in your own chart? And that can help you to attain this overcoming of your own karma, to attain this, which is coming from Saturn, and which in turn is going to help you to feel that energy of Ketu, that whole freedom thing, that spiritual liberation that's going on with Ketu, because that's what Ketu is all about. These are two opposing forces. They're completely different from each other. Saturn is really living in the real world. It's totally about being very grounded. It has to do with this heavy gravity. It's a slow-moving planet, so it represents old age. It represents the old hermit who has a lot of wisdom, but not in that spiritual sense. In the spiritual sense, it does represent that too. But it represents somebody who's very aware of this world that we live in, the normal everyday consciousness, and it represents that law. On the deeper level, it represents that spiritual law. Where you're really aware of everything. You know what's right or wrong. You don't need human law to tell you what's right or wrong. And Saturn is very clear. It has a great clarity within your life. Brings you this great powers of concentration. And the power to deceive you is not there. You really know what's up with people. You can't be fooled by anybody. And then we have Ketu, which represents this whole. It's almost the exact opposite. It's getting away from the real world, well, the normal world of everyday consciousness. It has to do with this spiritual liberation. It has to do with going inside, and doing spiritual work on your own self. It represents that spiritual monk who's in isolation, just in deep meditation, getting to know thyself, and experiencing that detachment and that freedom that comes from it. It represents getting in tune with the spiritual body, not with the physical body. Saturn is more about the physical body, representing that aging process of the body. Ketu is all about, I'm ready to get out of this body, I don't even need it. I want to go. I want to get out of here. Spiritual liberation. So we have these two opposing forces, but they're really Saturn is really wanting you to overcome that karma, so you can be liberated, like the planet Ketu. You can't use spirituality as an escape, like people do with drugs, stuff like that. So Saturn really knows if you're really doing these things to really liberate yourself, or are you just trying to get away from the world. And you're not really working on your own karma. When you find yourself going out into the world, now all of a sudden you're getting stimulated, your anger, or your some kind of hatred towards other people, and you start thinking, every time I'm around so and so, I start feeling this certain kind of way, man. It's them, it's their fault. That's not really true. It's really within yourself. There's a frequency match, an energetic frequency match within you that you are. This is why you're getting bothered by somebody else. You're matching that. There's something in you that's still you need to look at within yourself and understand. Overcoming that stuff is very difficult. I want to say that it's almost impossible. Because you're always going to kind of gravitate towards thinking a certain kind of way, but becoming aware of the way you think, the way you naturally flow with your thinking is going to really help you to not really react in these negative ways in your own life. You're going to be able to have more control of the self. when you start going into these deep meditations and asking yourself, why do I act a certain way when I'm around so and so? Why do I act this way when I'm around this type of personality? There's something in you that's feeling that same way that can relate to that other person. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so bothered by them. This is something I go through all the time too. I'm always experiencing it. And when I go into meditation, I ask the deity that I do my mantra to help me with these things, help me expose these things to myself. And sometimes when I'm doing meditation, I start feeling these thoughts, start tapping into experiences, even just petty experiences about, man, I should have said this to this person. I should have said this to this other person, Start thinking these different things. And, I start realizing, man, why am I so angry at this other person, There's something in me that can relate to who they are and the way they are, being kind of ignorant in life, not having any spiritual consciousness, just kind of taking the world for granted, I can't do that anymore, because there'll be another part of me that'll be like, man, I got to get back to the spirituality. If I go that wrong route, I'm going to end up feeling uncomfortable in my body anyway. But yet, being more on the spiritual side, I'm still looking back at that other side of me and wanting to go there still a little bit, But I'm hoping that my more spiritual side is more of the one that's deep seated within my roots, my foundations. But so these planets are really pushing us to really liberate ourselves. We can relate this to in the astrological chart, Vedic Astrology. By the way, if anybody wants a Vedic Astrology reading or a 12-house reading, just go to greg.thunderwizard.com. But these are related to the what's in Vedic Astrology called the moksha houses. And these are the houses of spiritual liberation, of spiritual growth. And these are houses 4, 8, and 12. These houses represent these pathways to spiritual liberation. So you can check out these positions in your chart. What sign is in those houses, what planets are in those houses. The fourth house, in this sense of liberation, it relates to your heart and your focus, your direction in life, and because the fourth house represents the home. It represents your inner home too, your emotional comfort, that type of stuff. So when you get like benefic planets in the fourth house, this can really help you with meditation, with your own peace of mind. Benefic planets are Jupiter, Venus, the Moon, Mercury. The Sun too kind of hovers between benefic and malefic planet. The Sun really represents your true soul, the true light that shines outside of you, that shines outward. And if you get like malefic planets in the fourth house, Saturn, Rahu, Mars, Ketu, the Sun too can kind of be malefic too, because the Sun is really can generate a lot of heat. It can kind of like burn the energies away of the house that it's in, or if it's with other planets, it kind of burns out the energy of them. These are just challenges, though. You don't want to really take these phrasings too literal. So you get it might be a little more difficult to get into these meditative states when you have those malefic planets in the fourth house. But still, it's just a challenge, nothing but a challenge. All those things can be overcome. And then we got the eighth house too. The eighth house really represents obstacles. It represents, it's a deep house. It's originally ruled by Scorpio, so it represents this inner, going really inside deep into your life and really looking at the darkness within you. So this is really good. You tapping into your unconscious mind, what's going on in there, what's really affecting you, what's keeping you from liberation, spiritual liberation. All the planets, when they get into the eighth house, they tend to get like weak also. They have a hard time really expressing themselves. You get a planet like Jupiter in there, it's hard to really express spirituality outwardly or inwardly. It's really hard to feel it. You feel these uncomfortableness. You get the moon there, you maybe have trouble with emotions. Emotions are going up and down. You're feeling moody a lot of the times. Things like that. But this is a really house that really represents that internal going inside, just like the fourth house. Same type of thing. It relates to your heart. This one we can say relates to the navel, but it really represents just inner consciousness going inside, and finding what's really good and what's really bad, and being comfortable with them and working through that negative stuff. And then we got the 12th house too. The 12th house is about the spending alone time, and in spirituality, in meditation, really going deep within the self, and isolating yourself away from the world. This is what Ketu is all about too. That 12th house, and yeah, it's a house where it's that last house in the Vedic astrology, so it's ready to detach you from the body. So this is getting in tune with the spiritual energy that resides within you. That energy that's always going to be there. Once you leave this body, that energy is going. That's you. So these three houses too can help you with this, what's going on right now, with the stars out there, with Saturn and Ketu being conjunct. And right now, I was checking it out right now, the Saturn too is retrograde right now too, so it's shining more brightly. It's energy, and that's either going to be beneficial for you or not. You got to be open to it. If you're not open to it, then you can succumb to this kind of fear, or you can feel physical problems. My back's aching and stuff like that. You don't want to resist. What you resist will persist. So you want to really be comfortable with this judge looking at you. And what can I do to liberate myself? Saturn is really going to point you in those directions to really liberate you. If that means going into a negative experience, then that's what it'll do. Until you learn. If it means going into something positive, then it'll do that too. But it can really help you with this meditation. It could bring that patience, and to go inside and really be looking at who you really are and freeing yourself. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. And if anybody's interested in those astrology reading, Thunder Astrology reading, or 12 House reading, go to greg.thunderwizard.com. Leave a link on the bottom. Hope you guys are doing good. Have a good one. Talk to you guys later. Peace.